Welcome to my Stop Fighting with Your Son podcast. If this is your first time here, I recorded 4 episodes especially for you to help you eliminate the fights right away and start connecting with your boy as soon as possible. Go to episodes 54 through 59. I have 4 boys of my own, and I know better than anyone how much you want to have a good relationship with your boy and all the things that can come in your way. If you are a mom of boys, I am the coach for you. Let's go. Hey guys, how is it going? What a whirlwind. Holy smokes, we're back from Ontario from visiting my family, my brother, my parents, my brother's 3 kids, and spending a week with them. And I also got to see my friends and their kids. And holy smokes, I feel like it's been a long time since I talked to you, and we've just had so many memories made, and it was crazy, right, with 7 boys in the house, but also so fun and loud, and all the family got to spend time together, and we did so much fun stuff. We did paddleboarding and kayaking and tubing, and had fires, and we had a ping pong tournament, and which we do every time with my side of the family, which is super fun. And now even the big kids participated. So I just feel like I'm getting my fill of the summer, and the kids are as well. And we're just making so many memories and doing so many fun things. And now this week, my big boys are in a rowing camp, which I'm so excited about because I used to do rowing in university. So I just wanted them to try it and decide for themselves whether they like it or not. And so far, they're liking it. Although one of them had a heat stroke the first day and puked a little, but he's totally fine now. And so I'm happy they're trying it, and actually they're saying they're liking it, so I'm happy. So I am so excited about what I'm going to talk to you about today, because it is life-changing, and you will love it too, like I do. So, as you might know, as I mentioned before, I am on a weight loss journey. And in fact, I've already lost about 8 pounds in 3 weeks. And what I want to talk to you about today is what is the one main factor that determines whether you keep the weight off, or what determines whether you gain it all back. And that is not food. Not food, not calories. It is not food that is determining factor that will determine whether you keep it off or you gain it back. Okay, so listen to what it is. So if it's not food, then what is it? And what I want to tell you is that it is always your thought. So here's how it works. Before we put the food in our mouth, we have a feeling, okay? And that feeling will be something that determines whether we eat it or not, whatever food it is. So if you're feeling a feeling of desire, then you will respond to that feeling and eat that thing, okay? And if you're feeling a feeling of disgust, you will probably not pick up that thing and eat it because you're feeling disgusted, grossed out, right? So what creates our feelings, you might remember from my previous episodes, is thoughts. So when you have a feeling of desire, it's because you're having a thought that created that desire. For example, I want that. If you're thinking a thought like, I want that, and it creates a feeling of desire for you, then you will likely, if you're not going to pause, most of us don't usually pause after a feeling of desire because it feels so uncomfortable to want something and not have it, right? And then we respond to it. And when we feel desire, we eat that thing, right? So this is it. Your thoughts equal calories. Your thought equals eating that thing. Okay? So it's not the food that determines whether you keep the weight off or gain it all back? It is your thoughts, because many of us, all of us, have lost the weight many times, right? If we wanted to, if we have that problem, right? If you don't have a problem with weight, obviously this episode is probably not for you, but it will still be relevant for you, because it's all about what creates our action, right? So listen to this and apply something else to it. If you are drinking wine and you don't want to be, this will apply to you, because a thought equals a glass of wine. For example, oh, wine helps me relax at night. That is a thought that when you think it will lead you to feel desire, and then lead you to have that glass of wine. If you smoke, the same thing. A thought about smoking, for example, oh, I just need to smoke, or it makes me feel relaxed, that kind of thought, any thought for you that creates desire for a smoke, then will lead you to smoke. So it basically any thought leads to you having a feeling that will lead to some sort of action. And the thought will determine what kind of action it will be. So now I want to give you a bunch of examples of thoughts that create gaining weight. Okay, so it's not the foods. It doesn't even matter what food you eat. But if you have thoughts that create desire for the food, then you will eat it and then you will gain weight. So that's why a lot of people, this is what I was saying, if we've lost weight a lot of times before, but if we have not changed the thoughts about the food, then we will gain all that weight back, because it's not the food that determines whether we keep it off or gain it. It's the thoughts. So if the thoughts stay the same, then no matter how many times you lose the weight and you use willpower and you eat all the right things, then after you relax after a while, now the thoughts are still the same, and that means the feelings will be the same of desire, and you're going to start eating the same things again and gain all that weight back, right? So when you want to lose weight permanently and never gain it back, you need to start with your thoughts. You need to start with the reason why you ate that thing in the first place, okay? So that's why it's super important to look at thoughts and figure out which ones thoughts lead you to gain the weight, right? Before you can even create the other thoughts that make you keep that weight off, we need to look at all the thoughts that will create the action of eating or overeating. Yeah? So let's just sum it up, okay? Your thoughts will create a feeling, some sort of feeling of desire, and that feeling will drive you to eat. And that's what will determine whether you will keep the weight off or you will gain it back, okay? So I already made a list of all the thoughts that create desire for me, and I know that these thoughts are common for other people. And so when I tell you these thoughts, some of them might resonate with you, some might not, but I want you to think about them as kind of categories or examples, and you might have some sort of version of that thought. But all of these thoughts will create some sort of feeling of desire, or they will a similar feeling of wanting, right? Or an urge or a craving. All of these words kind of describe the same idea of wanting to eat something, okay? So again, these thoughts will be just examples, but when I talk about them, I want you to listen for them and also think about, what thoughts do I have that create the feeling of wanting food for me and the ones that I respond to. And you might not be aware of them right now, but later in the day, as you're eating, notice, oh, what was I thinking that made me eat this thing? And it could be just so simple as I want that. And you know what? This is always, to me, there are always some super, super simple sentence that doesn't even make sense sometimes. For me, this sentence is, I want something after dinner. For some reason, that sentence creates the feeling of desire for some treat after dinner. And so even now I say it, right? It creates that salivation in my mouth. So now that I'm aware of it, I can put a pause on it. I don't have to react to it. And I'm practicing that, not reacting to it. And then the desire eventually goes away and I don't have that feeling of desire. Okay? So let me tell you some of these thoughts. So the first one I wrote down is, I want that. So this thought, when you think, I want that, may create a feeling of desire for you. For example, if you see someone eating a cake or popcorn or ice cream, or you're walking by a food truck or a restaurant, or you see a picture of it, you might have a thought, conscious or subconscious, I want that. So when we think a thought like that about any food, that thought will create a feeling of desire or wanting, and you will likely react to it by getting that thing, eating that thing, right? Super simple. I want that. Another one. Oh, so as I'm talking, my mouth is starting to salivate. That's so funny. I haven't had my breakfast yet. I usually eat my lunch later. And so these thoughts are actually working for me. That's so funny. So the other thought is, ooh, I like that. Like, for example, for me, I love peanut butter. So when I'm making peanut butter and jam sandwiches for my kids, sometimes I think, oh my gosh, that looks so good. That's another thought to me. That looks so good. I want that. I want the peanut butter, right? And so these are the thoughts that I think. So it's not the peanut butter that makes me feel that I want it. It's the thought about it. It's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is, ooh, that looks so good. I want that. Yummy. So good. Here's this. I'm just listing you all the thoughts that make me want food. So good. So yummy. Even just saying peanut butter makes me excited. I'm like, oh la la, I love peanut butter, right? And that's another thought. I love peanut butter, which sounds like a fact. It sounds like I'm just stating something about myself. That's true. But actually, those are words, sentences in my mind that when I think them, create a feeling of desire for me, create the feeling of wanting peanut butter, right? And because I've practiced them so many times, it works super well. Right away, I want it. Actually, now I don't want it because I've worked already enough on it, and I just don't want the consequences of peanut butter. This is the other thought that I use for myself. I don't want the consequences of eating a lot of peanut butter for myself, so I don't want peanut butter. That's what helps me choose not to eat it. And notice how I'm saying choose not to eat it, because I can't eat it. I can eat it a lot, all the time, all my life, always. And I'm just choosing not to. And that from that feeling of empowerment, I can sustain not gaining weight back. Okay? So that's the other list that I'm going to tell you later. So I want something, which is one of my thoughts. Something, even just saying something in my mouth after dinner was creating that feeling of desire for me after dinner to just have a treat. And again, as you hear these, see what comes up for you. What are some of the sentences that you think that come up around food for you that create that feeling of wanting? The other interesting thought is, I can't have that, right? When we're trying to lose weight and we know that we shouldn't eat like a ice cream on a Tuesday night so we can lose weight, we think with a reasonable brain, we say, okay, I can't have that because I want to lose weight, right? But when we look at what feeling that thought creates a feeling of deprivation. For me, anyway. For you, it might be something else. But when you are a week or 2 or 3 into your losing weight and you think, I can't have that, you feel deprived, well, guess what? the other thought you're also having it about it is, I want that, which is a feeling of desire, but I can't have that, which is a feeling of deprivation. And when we combine the two, that does not lead to you sustainably keeping weight off, because you are only doing is you're increasing your desire because you keep practicing I want that, but you feel deprived. Deprivation does not work to keep your weight off, because when we have deprivation and if we're not going to eat that thing, what we're doing is we're using willpower. So when you have desire, when you have deprivation and willpower, it is not sustainable, right? Because we're not fully sold on the idea that we are not going to eat that, right? We're not feeling satisfied. We're not feeling empowered. We're not feeling like we are making the choice. We're feeling like someone else is making the choice for us, and it's not us. So that is that thought, I can't have that. Well, something like that, I can't have that food, will create the feeling of deprivation for you, which is never true that you cannot have that. Let's just debunk that myth. Whenever we think we can't have that, it is not true, because we are grown-ups. We can have whatever we want, whenever we want it. And so whenever we tell ourselves we can't have it, it's simply not true. Unless you're at gunpoint, right? Unless someone's saying your life depends on it, you must eat it, then you have to eat it, right? So you stay alive. Or you can't eat it. But when it's just simply not the truth. The truth is you can have it. You're just choosing not to, right? There's a very big difference in the feeling and the result when we are choosing not to eat something. Or the other version of that is I shouldn't have that, which is something like deprivation, but with shame, right? You're like, oh, it would be super bad if I had that, right? Again, feeling shame, deprivation, desire will only create overeating later, right? Will only create exhaustion from willpower, from using willpower, and then you will just overeat it later, whether it's that night, that weekend, or 2 weeks ago from that. Another thought that I wrote down here is just one more bite. Just one more bite. What's the big deal? That's the other thought. What's the big deal? Right? These two thoughts are sneaky, 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 because they feel reasonable. They're like, oh, what's the problem? It's only one bite, only one more bite, no problem. But when we think them, what do? We feel desire, we feel wanting, we eat. When we eat, we gain weight, right? And that is how all of these thoughts, when I was thinking them, I would feel desire, I would eat, and I would be 10 pounds heavier than I am now, right? Well, I'm 8 pounds, but I'm going to lose a few more, and then I'll be at my ideal weight. So just to sum it up, all the thoughts that create a feeling of wanting food will lead to eating food, okay? And thoughts that create feeling of deprivation or creating willpower will also not work, okay? So I want you to be onto yourself when you're feeling bad. You probably are feeling something like deprivation or willpower or desire. If you are not answering your desire, if you're not eating, you're probably using willpower. Not sustainable, okay? So the way that we approach this, so keeping the weight off, is we then become aware of these thoughts that create desire. And guess what? Since we are the ones creating that desire with our brain, with our thoughts, it's very good news. That's why I was so excited about it for you and for me, because we can stop creating them. I'll say it again. Because we are the ones creating these cravings for food with our thoughts, then it's very good news because we can stop creating them. Okay? So, here's the other side of the coin. I'm not going to tell you how the process of stop creating them. For that, you need to either go sign up for the program that I'm in, which is Brenda Lomali's program. I'll put it in the show notes. I love the program. The coaching is amazing and the mentorship is great. All the information is there. If you're also curious about it, you can also go and you can have a chat with me about it. Because that is the whole process of how to do it, and that is through coaching. So for that, I highly recommend you sign up for a program and take a look at your thoughts. I can help you take a look at your thoughts, but I am more specialized in your thoughts about relationships with your son or whoever. So I would love to help you with those thoughts. But if you want to lose weight, I highly recommend you go and look at Brenda Lomali's program. She has a wonderful program and I love it and it's working, and you will lose your weight permanently and keep it off. Okay. So, but the other thoughts that I have wrote down here are the thoughts that create 0 calories. These thoughts will create not eating. For me anyway, for you, it might be a variation of these thoughts, but for a lot of people, there's thoughts similar to these or thoughts like these, okay? For example, I don't want that. That's a thought, right? If someone offers me a Twizzler, I think they're disgusting. And that's another thought, disgusting, right? I say, no, thank you. I don't want that. So here's some thoughts. I don't want that. No, thank you. It's disgusting. It's gross. And if you love Twizzlers, I'm sorry, but I think they're just gross. I also think slushies are gross, or Slurpees or whatever they are. They're just some a drink made with ice and some sort of syrup. And I just think they look gross, right? So that's a thought that I think they look gross. That makes me disgusted. That makes me not want to drink it, right? So you see how it works? It's not the actual food that is in charge of me eating it or not. It's what I think about the food. Okay? No, thank you. Like when my kids offer me a bite of something that I don't want, and I just say, no, thank you, I'm good. I don't want it. I don't like that. That's another thought. Yucky, gross. Or for my husband, it's too sweet. I don't want that. He doesn't like sweet stuff. I don't need that. That's another thought I borrowed from when I shop. When I shop, I so often don't buy something because I think I just don't need that. I like it, but I don't need it. And so the same thing I think sometimes about, like when we were on vacation last week and everyone was having s'mores, I thought I don't need that. I'm not going to have it, right? That's another thought. I'm not going to have it. I'm choosing not to have that. Now, that is a thought that I just learned from, Brenda Lomali. And that is a thought that I use to counteract, I can't have that. I say, no, I can have it. I'm just choosing not to, right? Because that's the truth. I can always have it. I can have as much as I want of it. I'm a grown-up. But I'm choosing not to. Here's another thought. No, thank you. I'm good, right? Or I sometimes say, oh, no, I don't eat that, right? So all of these thoughts create a feeling of something like the opposite of desire, right? So for me, the opposite of desire is maybe disgust. Like if you're disgusted, you're not going to eat that. But also, if you're not feeling disgusted with the food and you're totally fine, you might feel just certain. You're like, no, thank you. I don't smoke, right? When you say I don't smoke, if you don't smoke, then you don't feel disgusted. You don't feel bad or good. You just feel sure, you're 100% certain that you're good. You don't smoke, right? You feel stable, completely certain that you don't smoke. So again, pay attention to how you feel when you think these thoughts. Because if you don't believe any of these thoughts, they're not going to work for you, right? For example, if you think, I am choosing not to eat that, but you don't believe that thought, and instead you feel deprived, that means you're still thinking, I can't have that, right? That means that thought you don't believe it, and it's not working for you, okay? So it's very important to pay attention to how you feel when you think these thoughts, right? So, but if you do feel empowered when you think, I don't need that, I'm choosing not to eat that, you feel empowered, then this is sustainable. Then you're not going to choose to eat that. Okay? Your action will be not eating it, right? So, feeling certain is something that will help you keep the weight off. And thinking, I don't eat that. You feel certain. Disgust for me works because I don't want to eat something that I think is disgusting, right? For example, candy. I don't love candy, hard candy. Lollipops, I think, no thank you. Popsicle, no thank you. I'd rather have ice cream. Popsicles are, to me, in my thought, they're like all chemically, and I don't want to eat them. Twizzlers, slushies, lollipops, candy, popsicle, those for me are kind of gross. So I thought like that's gross, it helps me not eat them, right? So notice you already have a bunch of foods probably that you think are gross, but other people love them, right? I know a lot of people who love Twizzlers. My kids love popsicles. They love slushies. They love lollipops, candy. I think, oh, that's just gross. I'm not eating that. So pay attention. What foods do you already think are gross and are super easy for you not to eat? Guess what? You can just borrow those thoughts that you think about these foods and think them for other foods, right? You can, because the thought is something that you are in charge of that will create your feeling. And then that feeling will determine whether you eat that thing or not, okay? So the other feeling that I think is great for not eating something is feeling satisfied. Super important. For example, after I eat dinner and I have my healthy protein, my vegetables, my healthy fat, my body feels satiated, feels good. And I check in with myself and I think, okay, I feel satisfied. Have I had enough? And when I feel satisfied because I'm thinking that's good, that was good, I've had enough, then I don't want anything else because I feel satisfied. Okay? So, because you're not creating a feeling of desire for something, because you're good, you're satisfied, you're satiated, you are done, you're full, you've had enough, you're good, right? So you see what I mean? It's like when you've had enough of something, you don't want anything else, right? That's the feeling that I'm talking about, feeling satisfied. Super duper important in not gaining your weight back. Because if you're unsatisfied, guess what? You're going to want to satisfy yourself. You're going to want to eat something to think and feel satisfied, right? So, but that feeling of satisfaction does not come from food, right? It comes from your thought. Feeling satiated in your body comes from your body. It's a sense that you have because you gave it what it needs, right? But feeling satisfied comes from a thought in your head, like I've had enough, that was good, I'm full, right? So, convinced, right? Another feeling. If you're feeling convinced that I don't like lollipops, then you're not going to eat it. You're not going to have a lollipop, right? That's a useful feeling. Empowered, I already mentioned empowered. Empowered comes from a thought similar to I'm choosing not to, right? For me, I feel empowered when I say, no, thank you, I'm good. Because I'm exercising my power to choose not to have something because I don't think it's good for me, right? And the other feeling I wrote down is feeling sure or certain, which I mentioned already. But when you're feeling certain of something, when you're feeling you're sure that I don't want any, no thank you, you're not going to eat it, right? So to sum it up, there will be thoughts that create a feeling for you of desire that will have you eat food. And there will be thoughts that will create a feeling of satisfaction or certainty or disgust or empowered that will have you not eat food. So if you are in charge of your thoughts and if you are taking care of your thoughts, if you're aware of your thoughts and you do this work, then you will be in charge of your weight. Okay. So I'm hoping that today, when I gave you these thoughts, it gave you a lot more awareness. I gave you, first of all, gave you an idea that yes, thoughts are in charge of your weight, but also now that you're more aware of some of these thoughts that we all have. And next time you think some thought like, I want that, you will be aware of it, you will notice it, and you will be the boss of it. And you'll think, oh, I'm noticing that I'm thinking this thought, I want that. But you know what? I already had ice cream yesterday. I'm going to skip one today, right? Because I don't want the extra pounds, right? So this is what I want for you. I want to plant that seed in your head that thoughts equal calories. I want to plant that seed in your head that thoughts are in charge of your weight. Thoughts are in charge of whether you keep your weight off or whether you gain your weight, right? If you can follow any diet you want and lose the weight, but if you don't look at your thoughts, you will gain it back, right? But if you don't gain it back, then what are the thoughts that changed? What thoughts changed so you kept the weight off? Again, it will always be your thoughts. So this is what I want you to come away with today, is that thoughts are in charge of your weight. And you are in charge of your thoughts, which is super exciting. That's why I'm so excited to be done with the struggle with weight for myself for the rest of my life. And I wish the same for you. And if you want that, go to Brenda O'Malley. She is the expert. And there's so many other weight loss coaches that will help you that are part of my school, which is the Life Coach School. If you go to the website, the Life Coach School, you will find a weight loss coach for you that works for you. And if they're part of that school, then they will use the same thought framework to help you lose weight. All right. So I hope you get that result for yourself. Drop the struggle, lose all the weight, and keep it off, and never have to think about weight loss ever again. All right. And it starts today with you hearing this for the first time and planting that seed that thoughts are in charge of your weight. All right, guys, I love you so much. I hope you love this episode as much as I did because it's super exciting, right? Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Oh, if you need any help on your other thoughts about your relationships, especially with your son, I would love, love, love to help you. And again, when you do this work on your relationship, you will have that freedom from ever struggling and thinking about it ever again. You will have that freedom to move on to other things in your life that you want to focus on, like your weight loss, like your career, like your confidence, like your goals and dreams, or your relationship with your mom, right? When you do the work with your relationship with your son, you will give yourself the freedom of having never to worry or feel guilty about it ever again. All right? I want that for you. I want that freedom for you to feel good, to feel like all is good, everything's good, there's nothing to worry about, I love him. All right, you can go to my website and sign up for a session at www.coachingnatalia.com and go to sign up for a free session. First session is totally free. Come tell me what's bothering you, what's worrying you. I'll answer all your questions and tell you how I can help you. All right, I love you, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.